it was just, well, this is the song. Now take it, do it, and so it's not my problem anymore.
Hello and welcome once again to Radio Primavera Sound at the Primavera Sound Festival. It's Friday, it's 5:30 roughly, and we're incredibly lucky to have here none other than Sparks. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing well. We're incredibly happy to be here.
I've got to say, I've got Marta is here as well. We both really wanted to do the interview, and in the end we decided we would both go for it, basically.
Yeah. And it seems that we have chosen same color, so it's the perfect fit.
Yeah, we sent out the memo.
Matching.
We sent the memo out.
I wanted to ask, so your most recent album, I don't know how you do it, because your most recent album is your 26th studio album. And where does the continued inspiration come from? I mean, so few bands have 26 albums, let alone 26 great albums.
Well, we're just really self-motivated. First of all, we love doing what we're doing, and our question's more, why do bands that have 26 albums not want to kind of try to prove a point each time they set out to do a new album? And we kind of never understand that philosophy more, where we feel it's kind of your obligation as a group to be doing something that's really as if it were your very first album when you're doing a new album, and not kind of resting on your past laurels or anything. So for us, it's kind of just a challenge. It becomes harder and harder each new album, because the more albums you have, you're constantly trying to find new ways to present what it is that you do. So it becomes more of a challenge, but that challenge is what your job is as an artist.
And also, you try not to be influenced by outside forces, but the passion that a lot of fans have for Sparks really does motivate us, and especially younger fans have been getting involved more, especially since the time of Edgar Wright's documentary, The Sparks Brothers, and we did a movie musical in that. So it's kind of brought in a whole new audience, and it's really thrilling for us that there are brand new people that are kind of thinking of us in some terms as a new band.
How it's exciting to be at another of the peaks of your career, because it has been like something that has happened you a lot, like peak of a career, not so peak of your career, not so peak, and now, I mean, after such a long career, to have this peak. You were telling it about after the Edgar Wright documentary, which is amazing. Also after finally being able to have been involved in a movie project, which is something you have been longing for so many years. And not just any movie, a musical with Leo Carax, your songs, your script, and how what happened with Annette has been any influence at all in the album. And I know that Kate Blanchett starring on the eponymous video track. It's something that came after that.
Yeah, well, fortunately, we had done Annette for many reasons. Obviously, fortunately, it happened finally. It was one of our passions to finally get a movie musical off the ground that we wrote and all. And so that was just an amazing experience. And then as a result of that, we were in Paris at the César Awards, where Annette was nominated for about, I think, 6 awards, and we won for Best Music at the Césars.
Of course.
Of course. Why not? And when we were there, also Kate Blanchett happened to be at the Césars getting a Lifetime Achievement Award for her amazing acting skills. And so she came to our dressing room and knocked on the door, and there was this woman standing there, and we went, oh my God, I think that's Kate Blanchett. And we were kind of stunned that she would even know who we were, let alone saying she was a big fan of Sparks. And so we kept in touch. And then when it came time to do the first video from the new album, we were thinking, well, what can we do for the girls crying in her latte that's maybe not just such a literal representation of that idea? And we said, call Kate Blanchett. That's the idea. And she heard the song and she said, I'd love to do the video. And then that's 100% her in the video, her idea, how she portrayed herself in it. And we were more than happy to let her be in the foreground and us be behind her, just doing what we do more naturally too.
I wondered about the new album. How would you yourselves place it as part of your catalogue? I mean, other than the new one, do you see it as part of a particular lineage of what you've done? Do you see it as being similar in a way to previous albums?
Well, obviously, there's a sensibility that kind of goes through all of our records, and we don't really have much of a choice in that. I mean, it just kind of is there with whatever we write. But we feel, you work on an album and you're like so locked in, you don't realize it. But when we were done with this one, it felt different in some way, and I can't even be specific about how, but we really felt that even though it was working within the parameters of being a Sparks album, it really felt like something new. And we're always trying to experiment with sounds and things like that. So, people think that we work in a total bubble. We do listen to other bands, mostly just for listening to how other things sound, so that that you're kind of fitting in a general way. But it did sound special to us when we were done with it.
This was a question that Marta wrote. I'm gonna steal it if you don't mind, because you talked about new bands, and in We Go Dancing you mentioned Skrillex, who's DJing here tonight. A, are you going to go and see him? And B, how do you keep up with new artists?
Well, a question. We'd like to go see him. Hopefully, if our jet lag doesn't kick in and force us to go to bed early, then we'd love to go see him. Obviously, yeah. And I mean, we're just, as far as other artists, we're just always curious. We don't want to be in such a isolation that we don't know what's happening out there in the real world. So yeah, we're always listening to stuff and trying to see where we do and don't fit in the general landscape of things musically. And fortunately, we're still not fitting in anywhere. So that's the good news.
We like artists like Skrillex, where it's something that isn't kind of watered down for audiences, that there are enough people that really are trying to find things that are aggressive and interesting. And so even though stylistically, obviously, there's a huge divide between what we do and he does, we can identify with those kind of people.
Talking about We Go Dancing, which is one of my absolute favorite songs off the new record, where do you get the idea for a North Korean dance jam?
Well, we had the title We Go Dancing, and so we thought, well, that's a bit hackneyed and cliched, because we didn't want it to be another song about, a dance club, or, as much as, we're such supreme dancers ourselves, but so it was trying to find kind of another way of thinking of dance, and just the North Korean military parade seemed like a strange kind of dance if you take it in a certain kind of way, and so that was kind of the origin of that song. And then kind of we try to sometimes carry things to a very far level, and just seeing, well, what else of that. And so just the way the women are dressed, the costumes and everything. So it's all a part of like making the North Korean military parade kind of in a way, a metaphor of a dance.
I'm fascinated by what you said, that you had the song title and it was a bit of a cliche. Because this happened again, another point in the album, didn't it? I think You Were Meant For Me. I think I heard you talking about it. You're saying there's hundreds of songs called You Were Meant For Me. What I found fascinating is you didn't abandon the song title, which might have been the easy way to do it. Instead, you're like, right, I'm going to retrofit this to make it kind of interesting.
Well,
point.
a lot of times when we have the song title, just from a sound standpoint, it so perfectly fits the song that it's kind of sometimes hard to abandon them. We do, from time to time. So it's kind of working backwards and kind of destroying the whole lyrical bent of the whole song to try to kind of work backwards. And so, You Were Meant For Me. I mean, it was the sentiment of that isn't like kind of opposed to the title, the sentiment of the lyrics. It's more that it's more detailed than a song that you would generally hear called You Are Meant For Me. It isn't just that simple expression, but it's a very detailed way of meeting a person and what happens. So, it's sometimes fun to work with cliches and see what you can do with them.
And also with this idea, this way of work of having first the title, I think that you have explained that also makes you create songs that work as vignettes and create a story around this vignette.
Yeah, well, we're both big fans of cinema, movies, and so it's in a way it's a way to do movies without having a $30 million budget. And so we can make these little scenes, like even the title song, the girl is crying in her latte. It's it's a little maybe vignette of this situation where you come in the middle of it. There's a girl crying, sitting in a coffee place, and she happens to have a latte, and then she leaves, another girl comes in and places her, and she experiences the same situation. And so you kind of enter in the middle of the scene, and then in the end there's no real conclusion other than the character who's speaking is saying he's trying to figure the game. They all ordered the same, guess the world is to blame. And so that was the resolution of the narrator in the song.
So many people crying in their lattes. That's the conclusion.
Yeah, and it's like, also can sort of symbolize just a lot of people's, maybe the isolation that we, sometimes feel in life, just in a general way, where, you're kind of just shut off from things for various reasons.
I want to go back to 2008, if that's okay, when in London you played all of your 21 albums to date. I went to see Kimono My House, which was absolutely spectacular.
Lucky you. I envy so much, though I have chosen number one in heaven.
There were many I could have gone to, but it was amazing. So what I want to say is, did you, going back on that, are there songs that you've just forgotten that literally you listen to play them again, you're like, I don't remember this at all?
No, absolutely, because at the time there were 21 albums, so it was, I think we figured it was something like doing 280 songs or something. So there's various albums of ours have kind of, for different reasons, kind of had less visibility, and so even in our own minds, you kind of think, well, those are whatever, for various reasons, they're lesser albums. But when we did the 21 Nights, we kind of were forced to revisit everything we had ever done, because we wanted to present every single song night after night in their entirety. And so we rediscovered a lot of songs that we had thought, well, maybe there was a reason why they went under the radar. But then when we revisited them in a live context, we actually were pleasantly surprised that we liked the songs, in fact, and there were other circumstances why they sort of flew under the radar.
Also, that some of the albums were really short, so we were forced to learn B-sides that we couldn't even remember having done at the original time.
And the other thing was too, we wanted to keep the albums completely intact. So for the evening you went to, the Kimono My House, we ended up doing This Sounded Big Enough for both of us first, So we opened our show with probably the most known song, and then went down through the order of the song. So it was kind of unconventional in that sort of way too for a concert.
You have explained that even though it was an amazing idea, it was excruciation for you and an excruciation experience. Did this revision though in any way influence the new album? And I was asking because Nothing Is As Good As They Say It Is. It kind of reminds me a little bit of some of your catalog from the 70s or early 80s. For instance, Angst in My Pants, for instance, it has something, it's not, it doesn't sound so much as the 2020s Sparks.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the answer to that. I think there's just a spirit to the new album that's kind of in it. There's stylistically, there's a lot of different elements on it, like more electronic-based songs, and there's more guitar-based songs, and ones there's more orchestral arrangements on others. So in that way, it kind of it's very broad in its instrumentation, and so maybe some of those sounds, to some would elicit certain albums of ours, and but we think it's kind of being done in a fresh sort of way, though.
I wanted to ask actually about This Town Is Big Enough for the both of us, because me and my wife were recently talking about creativity in bands, and about how she was saying basically if I was in a band I could not play a song that many times. Like Bruce Springsteen played in Barcelona, and we looked up his set list, and he'd played Dancing in the Dark like 1,200 times or something like that, which got us talking. And I sort of looked up, and according to Setlist FM, which may not be entirely correct, but you've played This Town Is Big Enough for both of us 227 times.
All right.
In concert. How do you do it? Do you find different meanings in the song, or do you go back to the original emotions? Do you just enjoy the people?
Well, it's a combination of things. I mean, one thing is the song is, for a hit single, it's actually incredibly complex as far as chords and melody. So it's really interesting to play every single night, and and the crowd reaction is also an element of that as well. I mean, I don't think that we're kind of figuring out new meanings to the song by now, but it kind of is like there, and it kind of is taken on kind of a larger than life kind of image in our heads. But it's always interesting. We're not doing it begrudgingly. I mean, we prefer obviously to play newer things, but that song is just so fun for us to play just because of its complexity, and then also what it means to the audience.
Russell, it's still difficult to sing it because it's an extremely difficult song to sing. And the next question is for Ron, why do you put things so difficult for your dear brother?
Good question. Yeah. Why do you do that? Yeah. It's a challenge to still be able to sing a song like that at this point, because when you have a long career, the human voice tends to deteriorate somewhat over time. It's just a fact of life. And
but some of you keep on working and keep your.
That was my next point.
Yeah, we have
Believe
noticed
me, I was going to say that.
Of course.
No, and so I'm. It's a lot of discipline to try to be able to sound the way you sounded way back when. And so a lot of artists that have a long career, they tend to lower the key of songs, and when you do that, it's easy to modulate a song into another key, but it actually changes the way it sounds. It doesn't necessarily sound exactly the same lower, and so we're proud of the fact that our songs are still in the original key.
A song like This Town Is Big Enough for Both of Us is one of the songs that was actually written as like a keyboard part, and so it was just, well, this is the song, now take it, do it, and so it's not my problem anymore,
I wanted to ask actually, Marta brought up obviously the fact that you're brothers. Sort of something that really interests me. The brothers in bands often don't work. And you've obviously kept it going for a very long time. Slightly personal question, so feel free not to ask if it's too personal. But like, what did your mum think of what you were doing?
No, she was always encouraging. She was cool. She actually took us to see the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl when we were really young. So that's what a cool mom does, and maybe that helps, inspire confidence in you also to try to do things in that sort of ways, in a musical kind of way. So, no, she loved it. I mean, there was sometimes hesitation because we both went to university in LA, and so the first thing a mother will say is that, why would you want to be in a band? You can get a good job with your qualifications as a student. And then the first time she saw us on television on Top of the Pops, then she changed her mind and said, I knew you should be doing that. You should be in a band.
And did she sort of, phone you up and say, "You looking after your brother on tour? It's a long tour. Make sure you're."
She let us fend for ourselves.
Yeah. She instilled a sense of independence in us.
On Veronica Lake, also from the new album, you sing about the hairdo, the hairstyle of this classic Hollywood legend, and I'd like to talk about your iconic looks and especially your iconic hairstyles, because I mean you've been showing some iconic hairdos during your long career. For instance, I remember Russell's long curls in the 70s, also the fringe in the 80s. Ron, I really love your marvelous haircut in the 80s. In fact, my husband, who's there, he brings a picture of you from that era to our hairdressers. It's like, I suggest, Aleix, please tell your hairdresser that I want you to look like like Ron in the 80s. That's true.
I wouldn't put that on anybody. So.
And of course, the mustache. How have you addressed this keeping being iconic during your whole career? And Ron, you have keeping an image consistent. Russell, you have changed it. So how you've been thinking about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, for better or worse, we've always had, people acknowledge that the band has a strong image, and it's, it may not sound like it's the case, but it really is, that it's how we both feel more natural. He when we moved to England in the 70s, he had that bigger hairdo, and this one day said, I don't feel comfortable like this, and he whacked it all off and started slicking it back and wanted to go counter to what a typical person in the band looked like. And then I was kind of a sucker for wanting to be more like what a typical guy in a band looked like. So we both have our own kind of roles within the band that we both feel comfortable in.
Tips for teens. Sorry, there's so much to talk about. There's so many things. It's a brilliant song, and I really like the advice you give. I am sadly no longer a teenager. So do you have any tips for 45-year-old former teens? Please help me to live my life better, please.
Yeah, it only gets worse. So, enjoy it. No,
you've got sun. That's all you need.
Looking at you, it doesn't look like it gets worse. I mean,
no,
you gave us hope for us.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
Thank you. Moisturizer.
Yeah. Moisturizer and a good sunblock. Yeah.
One of the things I love about the band is you're very distinctive, and I think you're so distinctive that you need your own adjective. I thought I was being clever, and I was coining this, but I see lots of people have used the adjective Sparksian before. And I was wondering, what kind of, outside of music, what kind of things do you think are Sparksian? What's like a Sparksian book or a Sparksian food?
Wow.
Oh, that's a good question. I would like to, it's a combination of things as far as books. I mean, it's probably being presumptuous, but just Mark Twain is somebody that to me, maybe I'm too overly hopeful that we would stand up to that. But that kind of humor, but with kind of another layer to it, and all the details, and also, people kind of assume that we're not kind of so American, but I think that there is an American side to what we do, and Mark Twain is one of my favorite writers.
And then going to, what's also sparks, we come to Barcelona, and obviously we love the city, and it's it's beautiful. But then we also just, independent of each other, we both found out we both went into a supermarket here, today, and just to check it out.
You like visiting?
Yeah,
you know about Monoprix.
Well, we know about Monoprix. We know about Carrefour that you have, and no, that's where it's happening.
Yeah. Other people go to museums. We go to supermarkets.
What in Barcelona looks more Sparksian to you, for what you know?
Well, I mean, one thing that, it's obviously kind of being a little, but just, the Gaudi buildings, where things just are done in a way that other people aren't doing it, but are amazing in their own way. And there is a certain element of some people having a love-hate relationship with the buildings, but to us, those things are what all architecture should be, and so that, it's kind of hard to translate directly that to a band, but I think that's, I think that would probably be a close thing to us.
We were remarking too when we came out here this afternoon that how much, in a certain way, it's the spirit of Los Angeles. There's a certain similarity. Obviously, it's Spanish, but we have a Spanish-speaking heritage in LA too. So there's even that overlap in a certain way. But just the physical thing of beaches and sunshine, we feel, at home. It doesn't seem as different in a really good way, because we were born in LA. So there's a certain parallel to Barcelona. We think.
I think you should move here.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we will.
Twist
Any
my arm.
real estate agents out there in the
Yeah,
crowd
well,
got a good deal on a Barcelona? Anybody hands?
We found a good supermarket anyway. So we're
Yeah,
ready.
we know where to shop. So
We can recommend some good supermarkets to you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry if this is a sort of slightly nerdy question, but I was thinking back to when you played those 21 albums in London, and I've regretted ever since not going to go and see Little Beethoven, which is an absolute classic album for me, just so different, and I've got no idea how you'd have done it live. But did you have a sort of favourite albums? I mean, are you able to look back on albums in that way?
Well, I mean, Little Beethoven is one of my favorites because it was, in a way, it was done out of desperation. I mean, we had written a complete album of traditional songs, and we just felt that we'd kind of gone as far as that we could go in that way, and we wanted to find another way of working that was both as aggressive as a band, but not using a band approach and not using traditional drums or guitars, but having strings and kind of symphonic instruments sometimes, and repetitiveness to things that often was only used kind of in hip hop really, or else in, kind of more modern classical things like John Adams. So that was kind of the start of that. I mean, it's one of the few times that we actually started an album with an intent to kind of try to abandon what we had done in the past as much as we could.
I'm afraid that we need to finish the interview.
But
Before you go, and since you're here, we are very proud to present you with the Can Do Without You Award, which is a very special award for us for the Primavera Sound Festival to pay tribute to bands like you. bands, well, bands or non-bands, as you as you always say,
Whatever we are.
wherever you are, without whom the festival, as we know it, didn't exist, because we have grown up with you, and you have inspired Primavera Sound Festival to exist. So whatever the year, Sparks will always would be in our ideal lineup, and that is why that we want you, please, to accept this award.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you.
No one's ever told me that they can do without me before, so I appreciate you.
But there's
Thank
more.
you.
There's more, because with this award, you will be able to attend to every Primavera Sound Festival during your whole life, and in whatever city the festival is held:
Wow.
Barcelona, Madrid,
Oh, so kind.
Porto. Okay.
Wow,
Thank you.
this goes into my safe deposit box tonight. So, thank you so much. Oh, this is really an
Really
honor.
nice. Thank you.
This is
Very
really an
kind of
honor.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here
And
with
especially
us.
for just because of this festival really is there. It is something special. So this is extra special for us. Thank you so much.
Thank
you are
you.
are
Very-
really special for us. Really. Thank you.
Thank you.
RPS, live from Primavera Sound, proudly presented by
Meta Hype and Cupra.